recently there was we had a court hearing and then a surprise court hearing in the Idaho 4 case, okay? So November 1st, there was a Zoom hearing. We saw the judge like normal, but Ann Taylor and Bill Thompson were on Zoom calls. Apparently, Bryan was there. He just wasn't on camera. So this was all surrounding the IGG stuff. And what's been going around, which I saw this on Jules of All Trades and the Drunk Turkey Show, Daniel was talking about it, and they have very conflicting opinions on it. I feel like Jules was actually more open-ended, like, I don't know what this could mean, while Daniel was like, yeah, it's simple, there's nothing to it, you know, it just is what it is. But here's the rundown. So, Judge set a deadline for December 1st, okay, in the hearing, for prosecutors in the case to retrieve and submit the records, some of which he had already initially ruled must be turned over to the Kohberger's defense through the legal process known as discovery. Yay. Judge plans to review the documents behind closed doors before issuing a final decision on what information may be kept from the defense, including through a protective order requested by the prosecution. So he has basically said, okay, yeah, the prosecution's not bringing this as evidence. They're saying it wasn't involved in getting any warrants, and I think that's sound. Like, okay, that makes sense, which I question. But the defense has a right to see it, even if it's later declared not relevant.
I don't think there's anything shady with the judge going. I want to clarify that. I've stated very clear.
I have felt that way most of the time too, but at this point I'm like, are you just being a doormat?
I do think that. I do, but I also said that on our live stream that I think Judge is honest. Everything he's done has been very honest. I think he's a very kind man. He comes off as just an overabundance of kindness and wanting everyone to get along. But
yeah.
And he tries really hard. Like, he comes off as would probably be the best grandpa to somebody ever. You know what I mean? Which is great. But my concern in this, and I said it on live stream, for those of you that don't watch our lives, I'll say it again here. My biggest concern is that he is not the type of judge that can put his foot down and say, you know what, both of you shut your mouths.
Strike the gavel, order in the court.
Exactly. This is what the law says, okay, in my book. Not the working law. This is what the law that the people voted on and said is true and right and must be followed. And this is what we're doing because I'm saying that's what we're doing, because this is what the people said that we're doing, and you both can just eat it. Is he strong enough to conduct himself in that way? In the situations he needs to. Obviously, I'm not saying he should do what I just did and throw his hands up and act all crazy and act a fool, but in these situations, I feel like those kind of things should have already been done.
In some of these situations, yeah.
9 requests for discovery for the same discovery?
Yeah. I think he should have just ordered it hey, it's a part of the case, give it to him.
3 strikes, you're out. In my opinion, I'm not a judge, obviously, I get it. This is just opinion. But what I would have liked to seen is 3 is pushing it. Why are you not giving this over?
Well, see, here's the problem, is I feel like he has a certain amount of trust for Bill Thompson, and Bill Thompson's been telling him, there is nothing. There is nothing. It doesn't exist, Judge. I have nothing to give to them. There's nothing. He said he could give over some notes. That there is no work product. There is no, okay, this is our documentation of how we got from A, B to C. No, it's just some scribbles. That's what he says exists. And that he has to go through all this red tape of getting these requests in, and that's going to probably take a month to get it. Okay, so the defense, Ann Taylor also made separate requests. She wanted one for the FBI, one for Othram,
Of course.
and different deadlines.
Everything.
Different deadlines for both. The judge smushed it into one and said, no, get it all to me by December 1st. One order.
Fair.
I don't know if it's fair or not. I think she asked for separate ones, knowing that one may take longer, one may be more extensive than the other.
Oh,
I think
gotcha.
she
then
tailored it to both intentionally.
Yeah. No, I got you, because Othram is not going to want to give their files to the FBI, who then could send... You know what I mean? Do you get what I'm saying? So you have documents coming from...
They're two separate entities.
Exactly. You have documents coming from two separate places, so how can you submit that into one report? Somebody's going to have to give something up, or both of them are going to be like, that's not going to happen. You know what I mean? I think that's what it was about.
I don't know that has to be sent through the same channel.
It just has to be there by December 1st. Maybe. I don't know. I'm just thinking of legal loopholes. And sometimes verbiage is used in that way to create an issue. You know what I mean?
I feel like it's an issue because there may be different expectations for both and the same... I don't know. I don't know exactly how it works, to be honest. I'm not a lawyer or a judge. But it just seemed odd. That's what I was hearing, and it seemed odd, and I don't understand it. If you understand it, please let me know. Because I don't get how he could smush it into one. They're two separate entities. One is a governmental agency. The other is a private company.
I mean, it could just be
They work together. They do regularly on cold cases.
It could just be that they're going to hand over a literal paper file or whatever and have one paperclip in there with FBI and one paperclip in there with Othram. I don't know.
You know what I think it is? I think that the judge was like, just get all the info from the FBI, because Othram technically sent their info to the FBI, so technically the FBI should just have all of it. So send that request to the FBI, then you'll have Othram and FBI. But I feel like maybe Ann Taylor wanted a private...
Two separate documents to verify work products side by side.
And verify the chain of custody, things like that.
Yeah.
Because if you only have from the FBI, you have a one-sided view of what happened compared to if you have from the private organization and the FBI, you have two separate accounts that then you can compare and contrast.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I see it.
That's just my speculations. No idea, guys. So it sounds like what we now know is that Idaho State Forensic Lab couldn't find DNA on the sheath. They sent it to a private... Okay, either they couldn't find it or... I don't know. That's what we've pretty much heard, is they couldn't find anything. It doesn't make a lot of sense to me either. So they sent it to Othram because Othram specializes in getting this degenerated touch DNA. Mm-hmm. They send the whole sheath, the whole thing. Not just a DNA sequencing. They sent an entire sheath to Othram, which then used their little vacuum to suck up cells, and then they made a SNP profile using those cells. Then the FBI came in and swooped in and took it from Othram and did the genealogy.
Yeah.
And found Kohberger, apparently.
Yep. And then according to what we read, FBI called Moscow and said, hey, here's your guy. But
through this, we now have more details. So where does the two SNP profiles come in? Well, apparently that Othram, when they sent their SNP profile, the S&P profile that they had obtained from the sheath, they then, when the FBI came in to get it, sent it through their database, and through their database, things had to be altered. Okay, so this genetic sequence had to be altered to get put in the FBI database. What? That doesn't make it a different DNA sequence, like SNP profile? So there's two SNP profiles. What? Now, from what Bill Thompson said, this is a direct quote. It's our understanding once a SNP is put into one of these databases, the database adjusts the SNP to fit with what their criteria are for them to do their searches. So does that mean they're highlighting certain genomes? Like, is it just highlighting the ones they find most important?
That is my guess, and it's a guess. I don't know. The only thing I can assume is, remember when we covered this here, the DNA video, and we talked about how each person in a DNA chain has like 6 billion of the blockchains, the chain, whatever. And then what defines us is 0.1% of that DNA chain.
Yeah.
So let's just say a DNA chain is 1,000 like units, okay? Just making up a number. Let's say it's 1,000. And then the one that defines us as us is 10, okay? And Othram uses 1 through 10, but the FBI uses 2 through 8. So could that difference in what is used to identify in these systems create 2 different... You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, that's what I'm thinking.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing here.
I'm just curious, especially when we're dealing with degenerated DNA that has been run through algorithms to fill the gaps. If you're focusing on different parts of it, but you're both doing the same work, how does that work? And honestly, when I've looked into it, I can't find much about that specific issue.
Yeah.
Not much at all. Because I wanted to come here with more facts that I could find, and I can't find any. None. I found some cases where Othram and the FBI have worked together on cold cases, and it's all interesting and stuff, but they don't talk about how... Because they literally work together regularly.
So
how has this issue never come up before?
We've covered 3 cold cases. They never get good views because
people don't care about cold cases for some reason.
Yeah, it's just there is no society connection anymore. Well,
some of them are very old. So
yeah, so all of those, and this was interesting. I found out later. Every single one of the cold cases we covered being solved was due to Othram.
Yeah.
Every single one.
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting.
It is.
Yep.
It is very interesting. So, Drunk Turkey... So basically, Jules of All Trades, which her video came out first, she said she felt Bill Thompson was nervous and really just like flustered and frustrated with all of it, having to explain it.
He always seems like that.
He does always seem like that.
He is not a happy Santa.
So, he's not a happy Santa. He's a very grumpy Santa.
He is.
She asked, like, why the strange middleman program? Why can't just the full thing be sent? Like, it just seems odd. Like, could this create an issue? You know? Also, she's the one who mentions Ann Taylor wanted separate dealings and orders for the FBI and Othram, but Judge lumped it together. Then, Daniel from Drunk Turkey, he played a clip that Jules did not play, and he's like, I think I know why this is not getting played, because it clarifies a little bit more. I suggest you guys watch both of their videos. I think if you watch both, then you'll come to some semblance...
A more well-rounded conclusion.
Yeah. Because they're both at kind of opposite ends of the spectrum, though I don't feel like Jules was straight up being like, Bryan's innocent, this is a setup. She's asking questions, similar to how we do. But Drunk Turkey, Daniel from Drunk Turkey, said he didn't think Thompson was nervous at all. He said he didn't seem like he was nervous or angry or anything like that. He said the transferring between databases probably just highlights certain traits, like what we were speculating, that it might not be anything like negative or bad or anything. But he highlighted a clip from Vargas, where Vargas is saying the STR profile is created before she ever does her job, which I was confused by because I thought she dealt with S&P, not STR.
I mean, isn't she building trees? It's either one.
It can be either one?
Yeah.
Okay, so...
They're just built in different ways. One is that repeated factor, like where it runs it over and over and over and over and over and over and just get sections of it each time till you have a built profile. And the other one is there was enough there to have an actual profile, I think.
So basically her point was, as she tried to make this very clear, which I feel like she has at this point, that all DNA profiles are created before she ever touches them. She doesn't touch direct evidence or blood or bodily fluids. She never touches any of that. She gets a code from a computer.
Right.
Your DNA sequence, and then runs it. Yeah. That's what she does. She doesn't touch evidence. And that chain of command is super important. Super important, which is why we have questions here with the knife sheath being sent to Othram. Is that chain of custody? That's the question marks.
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it's going over their heads here. I don't think people are understanding the big flaw here. It's like they're looking, it's like a red herring, and people are buying into the red herring. The big issue here, if it can be proved, right? If it can be proved, because there is no evidence of it yet, is the sheath. The entire sheath was sent to Othram, which is super uncommon and really strange. And Othram, for the first time ever in history, helped an active investigation. The first time ever. They have only ever done closed or cold case investigations. They helped on an active investigation with an active piece of the crime scene. And then they sent it to the FBI. That is a huge disruption in chain of custody on that sheath, where you have ISP who could not find anything, nothing. They couldn't find any DNA. So they sent it to Othram with their new technology, and they did find something. So why didn't ISP? And are we to trust all the other evidence from ISP if they can't lock down DNA? And I don't think people are landing on the importance of that.
Yeah.
That she should have never left the custody of anybody, ever. It's a problem every time it's out of somebody's hand. It's a problem every time another person becomes in the same room and area of it.
Yeah. The chain of custody is extremely important. It's
in my opinion,
vital. It's vital. No, it is absolutely vital in all cases, period. Because you don't ever want to draw question to the contamination of evidence. You don't even want that to be questioned.
I agree.
Ever. For people to ever have question marks of, could this have been contaminated?
But you know what's interesting is the prosecution is really leaning on the fact that, look, we're not including this DNA. This DNA means nothing. It does nothing. But the thing is, then why did you submit it?
Well, here's another thing.
Because it did mean something.
Vargas also says STR profiles have nothing to do with S&P profile or the genetic genealogy. I'm pretty sure she deals exclusively in S&P.
No. Isn't STR just a DNA strand?
That's what's ran through CODIS. That's when you have a direct DNA source.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So it still builds the same profile.
Okay, I'm just confused because why would she say that then? STR profile has nothing to do with S&P profile or the genetic genealogy.
Correct. That's correct. An STR is an actual direct piece of DNA evidence that didn't have any... more than likely it's a blood or it's a bodily fluid or whatever that they were able to gain it from. An SNP profile is an electronically built profile based on a multitude of factors of continued reprocess of that over and over and over and over thing.
Okay.
I'm pretty dang sure.
S&P is always touch DNA, or is it always degenerated DNA then?
Yeah, it's a specific snip of DNA that can prove somebody's identity and built with that same over and over and over process. So an SNP and STR do the same things. They're essentially the same thing, from my understanding.
I'm pretty sure SNPs almost exclusively touch DNA, I thought.
But the thing is why do you need touch DNA to build a tree? Any DNA can help you build a tree. That doesn't make sense. Just because you have an STR doesn't mean you're going to find something in CODIS. An STR and SMP both go into CODIS and look for the same things.
I don't think they can run SNP through CODIS. CODIS is exclusively STR because STR is the reliable one. They don't even run SNPs through CODIS, so that's not correct. Short tandem repeats is STR. Measure the number and times of a sequence, number of times a sequence or genetic code is repeated, and specific location of the Y chromosome. The common STR DNA tests are available are on 37 or 111, 101, 111 markers. Since the values for these markers change over time, they're useful for establishing the time frame when two men shared a common parental ancestor. STR DNA is tested with a standard Y DNA test. So STR DNA tests are that it can be used to find your genetic family surname, haplogroup, and subgroup you belong to. The cons are the unstable markers, and the fact that it cannot define precisely when your most recent common ancestor with your matches lived. What? Yeah,
you're getting into stuff that's not even important. This here explains it. I am wrong. So we identified potential candidate SNP useful for. So I'm thinking what you're saying is right. So it says single nucleotide polymorphisms is a SNP, are largely untapped DNA resource for forensic applications because of the extensive database and experience that have been established with the CODIS markers. SNPs are unlikely to replace STRP for applications involving individual identification. However, SNPs offer many advantages over STRPs for inferring the ancestry of a DNA sample, for identifying close biological relatives, and eventually for inferring phenotypes like eye color.
Yeah, so I figured it out. So the single nucleotide polymorphism, basically... Okay, so you heard me say that STR, that these were unreliable, okay? Some of it was unreliable. It's, here, let me find it again.
STR is the reliable one.
It is the reliable one. You're not hearing me. The cons are the unstable markers in STR profiles that cannot define precisely when your most recent common ancestor with your matches lived. So it is good for a single person. Like if I take your DNA and test it and find that it's you, like comparing your own DNA to your own DNA.
Yeah, it's just a different part of the chain.
SNP markers are ones that are stable over generations, like these long-term genetics that you're getting from ancestors. These are very specific ones that are super stable for whatever reason, and that's why it's better for genealogy.
Okay, got it.
It's interesting. Like, I didn't quite understand that before. We're still learning about DNA.
Yeah,
now
for sure.
Yeah. We've talked so much about it, and I didn't quite understand that there's markers that are good for certain things and markers that are good for other things.
Yeah.
Interesting. Very, very interesting. But anyway, that was kind of a tangent.
Yeah.
But at least we understand better. But so I guess that's why she's saying SCR profiles have nothing to do with SNP profiles. or genetic genealogy, because STR can't be really used for genetic genealogy. Mm-hmm. It can't really be. So,
yeah.
And STR is better for CODIS. That makes sense. But anyway, my question then is, how do you compare a SNP profile to an STR profile? Or did they take Bryan's actual DNA and then compare the SNPs to the SNPs? Is that what
I'm
they
not
do?
sure. That's what I was just looking up, is what is the difference between SNP, STR, and then this person was saying that they thought that a SNP data can be transferred into an STR data, but somebody responds saying no.
I don't think so.
That's not the case. They said it's a single nucleotide polymorphism, not a polymerase, which I'm assuming
So
makes...
that has to be why there's a percentage base. And it's not exact, because it's not that perfect.
Yep.
You get a SNP
They're
profile off a
fractions.
knife sheath, it's fractions of somebody's genetic code, and they can only look at very specific things to connect it. It's not like they have a full profile.
Right.
They have a full SNP profile, not a full genetic code.
Yep.
So that's why it's percentage based.
Yep.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Anyway, I'm really curious how this is going to turn out. It's interesting hearing different people's perspectives on this same issue. I appreciate both Jules of All Trades and Daniel from Drunk Turkey. I think they both ask good questions and also deliver good different perspectives on the same subject.
I think both are important.
They are important, and we're just here to highlight it all and talk about our perspectives.
Yeah.
But I'm really curious how this review of the IGG is going to go down. Is he going to end up not letting them have it all after reviewing it, or is he going to just
that would be so messed up.
I know.
And it sounds
just
like the
hand it all over.
Yeah, it sounds like the prosecution is still saying they're not going to use DNA. They literally can't. If they are not showing the work, then they're not planning on using DNA in the case.
Then how are they going to get a DP conviction?
What is insane is that means that was just used to character assassinate.
Yeah.
Literally, that's it.
There's no other purpose.
Nothing.
If it's not used for search warrants or arrest warrants, which is mentioned in the probable cause affidavit, so I don't know how you can say that it wasn't used for an arrest warrant, because you literally put it in the probable cause affidavit.
Yeah.
I don't understand that.
There's problems there. I'm looking at this what the...
That's one of your main pieces of evidence against this man in the probable cause affidavit, and you're going to say you're not going to use it in trial? And you're not going to show your work? Now, granted, Bill Thompson is not the FBI. No matter how many connections he has to the FBI, he is not the FBI.
No.
So, if they can't provide their work, that's an issue within the FBI. That's an issue.
Yeah, but I think what comes up then is, okay, if you can't provide your work, then how are we going to manage this?
Right.
Mm-hmm. So...
But I want to know what you guys think about the entire ordeal. I've been hearing the media push, this is the strongest piece of evidence against Bryan Kohberger. The strongest.
It is a strong piece of evidence. If it's legitimate and the work can be shown and they can prove that it's reliable, respectful, and transparent.
So then why doesn't he want to use it?
I hear you. I'm thinking the same things. I don't know. I do not know.
This is the biggest question mark I have over this case right now. I feel like we've already pretty much shown the cell phone tower data's BS. If it's used, they're going to be wrong. We have multiple experts actually that have come out in articles. You can just Google them. I've even posted one in the Discord, our Discord, of other people conferring to the same thing we have, that it's BS.
Yep.
The car... We don't know for sure yet.
Yeah.
There could be more. Mm-hmm. But maybe that's why all of this is BS, because maybe they just have him on footage walking up to the house.
I hope they do.
I hope they do,
I hope
too.
they do, so, yeah.
But I seriously doubt it.
Mm-hmm. Let us know.